All right, so for these next 3 drawings, I want you to lay down a quick gesture like we did in the previous drawing, and then you're going to develop it into, I'm going to say, like 10-minute pose. So we have the initial 2-minute drawing. Now we're going to do 3 10-minute drawings, and you're going to do them so you need to do these drawings from life, which means you are looking in the mirror, or you have someone that likes you enough, that lives with you, that can sit very still for you. All right, so 10 minutes. If you feel like going longer than 10 minutes, you are allowed to, right? And you must do these in ballpoint pen. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to lay this down, and then how I'm going to develop it into something for 10 minutes. All right, so again, I have my ballpoint pen. When I start my sketching or my gesture, I'm going to do it from holding the back of the pen and holding myself away from this a little bit. All right. If you do have to be in your bathroom, because that's where your only mirror is, then that's fine as well. All right, so I'm doing this at a little bit of a 3/4 angle. So I'm sketching out how big my head is going to be on this paper. I'm turned a little, so here's the center line. The eyes and eye sockets. So I kind of am like cocking my head to the side a little bit. So I'm changing the center line to do this. Here's the center line where the eyes are. And I'm just sketching location of the eyes, not the shape of the eyes. Right, I'm kind of getting the angle of the forehead and the frontal eminence over here. I'm going to say the nose is going to go in this vicinity. Now again, I am looking at myself in the mirror a lot. It sounds obvious to do that, but a lot of people get sucked into their drawing and get lost in trying to make an eye look like what they know an eye looks like, and forgetting to actually look at their own eye, right? So you really want to look. And again, right now, I'm just placing everything. I'm looking at the nose area, I'm looking at the space between the mouth and the nose. I'm looking for where I place these eyes, and I'm looking for where the corners of the mouth are. So here's kind of the nose. The mouth is wider than the nose, so I'm placing some corners there and there. Finding the angle of the jaw here. There's this little notch under the bottom lip that creates a little shadow area, and I like to place that because then I can look at where the chin is. The chin is this little bump here. I'm looking at this angle of the chin. Is it doing that? Is it doing that? Here's this angle of the jaw. Here's the other one here. Right, ear, very prominent. There it goes. This one I can kind of see. So I'm really not committing to anything just yet. Okay, so I'm looking at this. I'm pretty satisfied with the overall placement, right? And now I'm going to, I feel like there should be more kind of hair area. So I'm looking at, here's the eyes. And again, notice they don't look like eyes. They're just literal, just little scribbly blobs, right? And I'm looking at my hairline. It's kind of got a corner right here where it goes back. And then here's frontal eminence. I can see, now I'm looking, if I see this much forehead, I can see this much top of my head, where my hair is. I'm getting these shadows in. Now, from this point, I'm just going to start trying to tighten this up. It's really loose right now. Anything that I can see that helps me see it, that helps me make sense of these shapes, that's what I'm going to start putting down. So I'm looking at, here's kind of the eyes, but there's these really prominent shadow shapes because I have this bright, bright light right up directly above my head. Notice that I'm keeping this very open form. So that means I'm not committing to outlines yet. I'm looking in terms of light and shadows and shapes, right? Closed form would be like contour line drawing, like we did kind of earlier when we did the blind contour, partial contour line drawing. That is just, you put down that mark and that's done, that's closed, there's nothing you can do. Here, I'm not committing to anything. I'm leaving it very open and just kind of vague and hazy, and I'll tighten it up at the end. So I'm looking at the space between my eye here and the side of the head. Here's the widest part, kind of the zygomatic bone is kind of here. And I'm just vaguely looking at the outline of the, I'm putting something down here, right? And then I'm going to check to see if I like the way it looks or not. Because if it doesn't, I want to change that. Here's the chin area. This is gonna, so you can see I started really loose with my hand back here. Now I've choked up on the pen a little bit. I'm kind of halfway. I like to, you know, you don't have to do this. I like to put my pinky on here to steady my hand. Right? I'm not liking the way this area is looking at all. I'm gonna put a little more angle that way. I think that's better. So I just moved the side of the face, the forehead, from this angle to that angle. So usually some little thing like that can make a huge difference, right? Now, the nose, here's the center line, here's the center. The nose starts on the center line. When you're turned, this little ball thing on the end of your nose, this round piece of cartilage, sticks out sideways. So the center of the nose is going to be over here. Here is that nostril. This one's over here. Here's the septum, the center of the nose, and then the nostrils are going kind of that way. Now I'm looking at the philtrum, the space between the nose and the upper lip. The mouth kind of bulges out like that. Here's the philtrum kind of going this way. The center of the lips, I'm going to say here. Corners of the lips, there and there. So notice how I do the center and then the corners, and then kind of connect the dots, right? Bottom lip is kind of around this vicinity. All right, so again, notice how the eyes do not look like eyes. They're very just still very indistinct shapes, right? I'm gonna go in and try to tighten them up just a little. So I have, here's the nasal bone, the glabella area. So I'm working on looking at this little glabella. The eyebrow shape, so I do a little on this side, a little on that side. They're all very much in shadow. Now I'm making my eyes kind of blurry. I'm looking at myself, and so my head's turned this way, but I'm looking at myself. So I'm gonna scribble a little bit darker right there, and a little bit darker right there. And it's at this point that I want to look at this and try to determine whether the eyes look cross-eyed or funky or anything like that. Right, so I'm just letting this come into focus really slowly, right? This really prominent shadow landing right there. I'm kind of placing the upper eyelid like this. Kind of just looks like some arch kind of shape. Here's this tear duct over here. This tear duct is really close to the bridge of the nose. So here I'm placing this one, then I'm placing this one. Got this little under eye area. Again, notice how I'm holding the pencil. So your drawings don't necessarily have to be so chiaroscuro heavy. If yours end up being more liney, outliney, that's fine. Just for me, it helps me to figure out where the eye is supposed to go if I take into account this whole eye socket area. All right, so I'm looking at the nostrils. For everything, the thing you want to do is just don't do a generic shape. So if you do a nostril and you're just like, that's what a nostril looks like, that's what the other one looks like, I'm looking at mine. It doesn't just look like a symmetrical shape like that. It kind of goes down and then hooks in a lot at the bottom. So this is a different shape than that. It's the difference between this and this that's going to make this portrait look like you specifically rather than just a generic random person. Right? So again, I'm kind of getting this flat area here, and then this really kind of rounded area here. So I already have the framework scribbled on here, so I know somewhat where I want them to go before I go and just start drawing all these details. Right, there's a giant shadow from the nose, cast shadow, going this way. Upper lip is in shadow. Where I'm standing, the lower lip is mostly in shadow too. There might be a little bit kind of right there catching some light. Okay, now it's coming into focus. This person sort of exists and has a soul now. So I'm going to continue. Now there's something weird about the angle a little bit, like this side of the head and this one don't really add up to me right now. So I'm just going to try to stand still and stand in that pose a little. And I think it's because this has to, instead of going that way, has to be more like that. I'm looking at the corner of the mouth versus the angle of the jaw. Here's the hairline. So I'm looking at, here's the corner of the eye. Corner of the eye, and I'm just going to scribble a little harder for that iris. Here's some hair kind of coming off this way. I'm just trying to quickly lay in shadow right there. My forehead's a little more square. Instead of so round, I'm going to put a little straight line right there for the front of the hairline. And little stuff like that really helps make a difference in whether this looks like you or not. The earlobe. Now, ears seem like a minor thing, but they really tell you a lot about how the head is positioned. So I'm actually going to kind of draw in the neck a little. I'm putting the notch here. See the trapezius coming kind of that way. Maybe down here. Little apron strings here. And then, because that's helping me place the ear, I'm looking at the nose and the ear, the bottom of the earlobe is right there. The ear is much too big, so I cut it down a little. These little hair details. Just kind of suggesting the direction of the hair. Right, so this is definitely 10 minutes worth of drawing, right? Like I said, if you want to go longer, you can, but your goal is to make 3 10-minute drawings that start out as a loose gesture, and then you can develop it a little bit further. Right. I'm going to go a little further just till I get the eyes looking the same direction. So, for me, for eyes, it's really difficult to get them looking in the same direction if you start with this kind of thing, with the iris. I like to scribble a little bit of dark cloudiness and then slowly tighten it up. So I feel like this part of the eye has a darker shadow under that eyelid, so I'm trying to get that on there. I also see a little bit of this eyelid fold that I want to get as well. The glabella is all dark. Right, so at this point, I can pretty much see that this person appears to be looking at me. They don't appear to be cross-eyed. One eye is not really bigger than the other one, and it's at this point, if you want to add the details, that you would go ahead and do that. So by details, I mean right now I have this cloudy, fuzzy mess right here. So I'm going to look at the actual shape of the eyelid here. Now you can see how I'm holding my pen. I'm going in and creating a nice edge on that iris. I'm doing some on that eye and this one. Right? Add a little pupil in there. A little fold. The open eye. Lower eyelid. Right? So if you want to tighten it up and stuff, it comes at the end.